Hello, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Laura, and this is the Parentrepreneurs Club podcast, a fortnightly show to help you navigate the demands of being both a parent and a business owner. We will share lots of practical ideas, hints and tips, and our own and others' experiences of juggling work, family, health and finances. Above all, we want to help you find your purpose, define your identity, and banish any confidence gremlins that might be holding you back from the life you dream of. No matter whether you have children or not, there will be something here for you. Let's get started.
Hello everybody, and thank you for joining today's Parentrepreneurs Club podcast. Today we're joined by Caroline Marshall from Absource. So thanks ever so much, Caroline, for popping on today. I thought really if we hand over to you for initial introduction and you can outline what you do and a little bit about yourself, and then we can hop into some questions if that's okay.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me, firstly. Like the lovely introduction, I'm Caroline. I run a virtual assistant agency. We're called Absource. So we've been going for 3 years. We're almost a team of 30 now. We provide a whole host of business support for SMEs, startups, scale-ups, a few high net worths as well, because we provide business support, operational support, support for solopreneurs. We've got a couple of them as well. Personal executive assistance, some social support, bookkeeping. I forgot because we added that to our service this year. And yes, so that's our business basically. And I also run a podcast called Bump to Business Owner. And it comes from my passion of where I started my business in lockdown, at home, not working for the second time in my life, but both those times fell when I had an 18-month-old. So I'm really passionate about mums who either are founders, are curious about business owners, are thinking there's something else they want to do from their job, or that they have been at home for a few years and they want to think about starting something on their own. And we talk to women on all stages of their journey. So we've had founders who have been 10 years in business and gone through all the things from maternity leave during their business years. And we've also got some who are literally very new in both their mum journey and their business journey and only just launching. And I also bring my experiences from building an agency.
Absolutely. I love your podcast. It's so exhilarating. You're just a fantastic guest. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting talking to you, isn't it, around the setup in lockdown. And we both share that, because I was in the same position. I set up at the start of lockdown as well. And like you say, you find yourself at home and you're not in a situation where you're at home with the children, but you've got this transitional point. So how, just explain that a little bit more. How did you sort of decide to go solo and set up on your own?
To go right back to the beginning, my background, I was executive assistant, personal assistant for C-suite level directors. I'd also had a stint in comms, so which is kind of handy for now, but done a few things. I did like press releases, helped with events in the communication side of things. And then I actually started in the VA industry back in 2016, but I was an employed VA, and it was a London-based agency starting to grow. And I really joined them with a goal of helping them grow, which I achieved. And me and a couple of other girls did really well there. And I really helped that's why I also found I love the client side of things, the client management, client onboarding, customer experience. I really love that side. So I learned so much there, and but I learned it through overworking, and then I became pregnant. And apparently you can't do overworking and being pregnant, or at least I couldn't. So I'm going to, just to be brutally honest, it was this 2018. It was due to that and some loneliness. I was the first of my friends to get pregnant as well, and everyone was turning 30. So, and I didn't. That was also the last thing I wanted to do. And so I had really bad prenatal health, and for the first time ever in my life, I found myself in a doctor's surgery, basically asking for help. So, and to be fair, the business then tried to put some things in place to stop me overworking, because I work from home a lot. So I experienced the work from home burnout, which is a thing which everyone started to realize was a thing in lockdown. But I was like, oh yeah, this is what I had, and Zoom fatigue, all of those things I learned about while I was pregnant in 2018. And I was like, oh, everyone's learning this. It wasn't just me. And also we weren't financially ready. This business didn't have a mat leave in policy in place, and they put it in when I got pregnant, and it was statutory, and statutory is like nothing, especially if you've not prepared financially. And another thing was I was getting married 4 months after I had my baby, so, and that was all planned, and like the venue paid for, so it was going ahead. So I went back to work very quickly. I went back 8 weeks part-time, and then after 12 weeks full-time, so Monday to Friday, and it did not go well. It probably couldn't have gone worse, my return to work. And then things started to improve. I'm doggedly persistent, as a client described me once. I was determined to like make it work. I was the first of my friends to have a kid, and I just like, I am not like giving up my career, and I'm not being that person, even though obviously I could have done with more maternity leave, I'm sure, but I feel like I made up for that in lockdown. I like, my maternity came, and also when I got made redundant, which is where this story leads me to, is that then in before my child turned 1, I got made redundant from that business. And so at that point I was like, I'm never going to be a VA again. Hate the industry, don't hate the industry. That was just an experience I had that wasn't a particularly pleasant one. But I then went to go work for a friend's family business, because I thought, I know the people, and it wasn't the right fit, and it was great at the time, because for me, I didn't know what I wanted. I was like, maybe I just need a job, and I'll work 4 days a week. I went there 4 days. I thought, I definitely want a day with my child. I can't do this full-time thing. I want to have some time with my baby. And then COVID happened, and it was an in-person role. So I found myself at home again, being like, am I being paid, or am I not being paid? And I'm not, because I'm not at work. But it took about a month to find out. I was lucky and did get furloughed. But then I found out I was pregnant again. So I was like, and at that point, I think we're all very quick to kind of forget really what it was really like. But I was pregnant, and we didn't know what COVID meant for pregnant women. We didn't know if we were at risk, and I would go on the tube to this job, so I had to kind of start mentally prepping. The world might open up, and I'm not allowed on the tube because I'm pregnant. And we didn't know this. The thing is, we know this stuff now, that the risks and things, but we didn't know it. So I was like, I'm at home again, not working, not being paid, and being financially independent is really important to me. I know it's important to everyone, but some people, I can't not have my own money. And I thought, well, I was good at being a VA once, maybe I could be good at it again. So, and I thought, if I'm going to do this though, I'm going to do it properly and launch a business. And I joined VA communities, and who really helped me plan maternity leave. They were fantastic. And then I also, because I was pregnant, I knew I'd had experience of not really taking maternity leave. So it was always like, I'm going to take maternity leave, but I'm going to find a way to do it and still have my business there for when I come back, basically.
Yeah. Honestly, it's so similar to my story. It's and to be fair, it's a few guests that we've spoken to as well, and it's wrong, isn't it, that it kind of takes those situations to drive us to it. But I guess we look back and think, wow, I'm so glad, I wish I did this before.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame I had to be like pushed that way, but I'm so glad I did, because I remember when things weren't going well just before I got made redundant. I think this is true for a lot of mums thinking, because I was just talking to a mum this morning who's building a business. So, which I do a lot now, which is lovely. But basically you get, just coming back to my train of thought. Yeah, it was basically clear the company culture, it wasn't working out. And I was like being asked, I think my dad said to me, like, do you think you should look for another job? And I was like, it's like the better the devil you know. It's like, I had a 1-year-old. I couldn't even possibly think about going out into the job world. And also because I'd built up so much great experience at the startup. It's still on my CV. It just looked very traditional executive assistant support. And I was like, what jobs am I going to get seen for a start? And secondly, like, yeah, it's better the devil you know. It's that little bit of like, what if what I'm going to have, I want another baby, and I'm going somewhere and just going to take maternity leave, and I'm going to get looked down on for that. And yeah, it's all those thoughts that you find out slowly as my friends started having babies, that my story isn't unique, sadly. Really not unique. The journey I've taken might be, everyone's journey is unique, but the stories have very relevant and very similar themes, which is sad.
It is, absolutely. And I think that's it, isn't it? Like you just said then, I think you really touched on it, that going back is sometimes it's that identity, and that time when our hormones arrive and we've got all the stuff going on, you just want that stability. And yeah, I resonate with you. I'm hugely financially independent, and you want the income, and that's part of your identity as well, isn't it? If you like that, you want that money, you want to be able to buy the things you want to pay for. So that transition to change at that point kind of feels like a bit of a risk. So we didn't, and I was in exactly the same situation. We kind of stay stuck because we think that's the right thing to do at the time. And then, someone else is kind of controlling that destiny in a way.
And I'm so glad it happened. But honestly, you've always got to be grateful for all these things eventually. But at the same time, it's like, you look back at it, all right, that could have gone better.
So how do you get that balance now? So obviously you've got a 5-year-old like me, and then you've got a 2-year-old. So how do you get that balance and kind of avoid that working from home fatigue?
It's a constant process that is up for review. And as we're talking now, it's just come to the end of the summer holidays. So that's a whole different ball game. But so my structure tends to be, so I still have Wednesdays off. I block it out. That is mummy day. That is 2-year-old day. We go swimming. We just hang out. I do laundry. He watches me do laundry. But also at the same time, just to like share the realities, I run a business which has clients, and I have team members as well. And there's quite a lot of them. I don't manage it all myself. Thankfully, I have a team who particularly know my schedule. And so, Wednesdays I am out of office. But say, for example, this week I really did need to sort out something client-wise, and my husband took annual leave in the morning to look after our child, and he doesn't do that often because that'd be a waste of annual leave. But it's we have that communication to, like, he respects sometimes I just need to do something like he does as well, and sometimes I have to get on and do all the school. I don't drive, I have to do all the school runs myself because he needs to be in the office all day and then go out that evening or something. So it's very much a team effort where we try, and obviously it has its it's not perfect, but we try and respect each other on that. But I really believe in getting help for things. I don't do it all myself. I have a team, and I know it's like I literally live by the company values of outsourcing. And when I've seen it we've had a few clients recently come on board who are female mum founders, and like the difference we can make to their personal lives as well as like the school admin and things like that. I get help for. I've got my own personal VA, and the random things she does for me. She could probably do a whole podcast on the things Caroline has asked her to do. And because I know people feel funny about asking for help, and like, oh, I can do that myself. And it's like, yeah, you could. I'm not saying, I mean, some things I literally can't do myself. Like writing, I'm not good at, so that makes sense to ask for help with. But I believe in getting that help. And then I learned, like we've both said, we've got year 1 children, so I've been learning the past year how to work with school hours as well. And so learning boundaries, I've had to be better at, yes, Caroline, just because you could do a call once your child is at home from school. Do you really want to do the call, and is it needed then? So the answer is yes, but if it's not, I really need to be better with my boundaries. And so I've learned some of those things the hard way. And but also I've also learned having one, I think someone on our podcast came on from Happy Marlow, and they talked about how they get from that, they arrange it with the husband, they get 1 full working day a week. So it's in like 9 till 5 or 9 to 5:30 or 9 to 5, and they go to an event kind of thing, things like that. And I was like, that is great, and that's what I need to do. So I've also basically once a week. It's a bit flexible when I do it, but my kid enjoys wraparound care, and we're lucky we have that option. And I'm not going to kick myself for once a week he does wraparound care, so I can have that full day. And either me or my husband. Yesterday it was the case my husband picked him up, and I went to see a friend in the evening, which is nice.
I think that's it. It's that balance, isn't it? 100%. And I imagine as a VA, you're hugely organised anyway. So I think that always helps, isn't it? If you can be organised with your time and what you've got on the horizon. But I think that's what I've resonated with since I set up. You sometimes just have to kind of appreciate that what's going to work for you and your family and for your business, and that balancing. And Laura and I were talking yesterday. We did a podcast around our last podcast was around goals and drivers, and that piece around you've got your goals and your aspirations where the business wants to go, but you've also got these personal drivers and motivators. And for me at the minute, mine's massively freedom and flexibility, and making sure the kids are young, I've got that option to do that. But it can be compromised sometimes because we've got this goal, this aspiration of where we want to be. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to outsource things, and I'm going to certainly take that away for something for me to look at my diary. We had a top tip for another podcast guest a few months ago, and she was on about color coding your diaries, and again, like, you've just got to apply that personal accountability and structure to that, haven't you? So yeah, I think if you've got your own VA, that is probably the way forward, because they'll give you that accountability, I guess, and make sure you do.
No, it's so true. And I think that's it with a team and stuff. And you do have accountability, or if you're client facing, they definitely give you accountability as well. But then so do your kids. There'll be something that comes up and you're like, right, I've not been paying attention to him. It's like, why are you always working? I'm like, right, okay. And am I really always working, or is that just like a throwaway comment because he doesn't really understand what work is yet, especially because I do it from home kind of thing. But no, the thing is, I've had people from our podcast come and say it does look messy. I think from the outside we can look like we've got this together, or that we're doing like a huge amount of volumes of work. And it's like, I also am a huge believer in rest and looking after yourself. So I do prioritize that as well. Like yesterday was my long working day, but I did find the only open air pool in central London to go and sit by for an hour because that's important. I can't, if I get burnt out, it means I have to take a break, and the break is even worse and not planned, and interrupts the whole both business and personal life. Whereas if I take the breaks, I'm not gonna need to take a whole chunk that's not planned for. That's the plan anyway. Sickness happens and things, but yeah,
and I think that's it, isn't it? Probably COVID and lockdown taught us some of that, but like you say, actually the whole working from home concept and this home working fatigue was already there anyway, wasn't it? We've just probably learned to manage it better, and particularly as these life events happen, like having children, those priorities change, don't they? And how you decide the best you to bring to the table is putting yourself forward, isn't it? And thinking, how am I going to balance like those commitments?
Yeah, and just like I said, it's about the personal choice as well. I choose to outsource more of my business support than probably a lot of business owners at my level and income level would. And actually, my accountant says they are quite high, those costs. But firstly, it makes business sense. It's business continuity. I've got more people who understand more things and involved on things. For when I got really horrendous flu earlier this year, I was knocked out for a week. It turned into a chest infection. I ended up in A&E, but my business kept going, and there was these client introductions that kept going. I had the people to rely on to keep going, and then my house had to keep going because my husband was there. But it meant, my business kept running. Whereas we have had a nanny briefly before, and then she got a new job that it was a career change she'd always wanted to do, which we were happy for her. But we were all quite gutted as a family because we hadn't had her very long, and we'd all really warmed to her and loved her. And I was like, I can't put my kids through that again. I was like, that just doesn't work for us, and it's not something that financially makes sense to get the level of nanny. A lot of nannies sort of want that work more than just school pickups and stuff. So I was like, well, it makes more sense that I do the pickups and more of the business stuff is taken care of, kind of thing. And that's just, it might change, and that's not the case for everyone, but that's how kind of my work has gone, really.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way of looking at it, isn't it? That contingency piece, I think we forget that, don't we, as small business owners, and we kind of keep paving the way. And I suppose I would look at it with Laura and think, we're business partners, we've got each other. But actually, when one's on holiday or if one is sick, it's no different, is it? You've got to rely on the communication piece. So if you are outsourcing some of that, it definitely gives you that flexibility. As I say, like you said, with the nanny piece, just relying on one individual is very different, isn't it? And the relationship that comes with that. So I think that's fab advice, really, really good. And I'm going to certainly have a look at my list and see what I can pick up from that.
And if you're not ready to outsource, a jolly good process. I am a big fan of putting your operations and processes written down, and in some sort of simple, not to scare people, project management software, because then if it's all written down and you find yourself urgently needing your help, it's a lot easier.
Absolutely. And from your perspective, with sort of your goals and aspirations for the business, do you think you're going to, in the next sort of few years, do you feel that those balances will shift again? Have you kind of got goals to either change your working pattern, or do you want to keep that going for the foreseeable future, and just realign the goals to suit your balance?
That's a really good question, because it's not something I've really thought about yet. Because I think what's really interesting, because obviously I'm in the younger years with kids. I do actually have friends and colleagues here and team members who have teenagers, and they find themselves that they need to be at home as well, because they go through stuff and you just want to be around and know that while they may not talk to you for 5 days in a row, that suddenly they'll open up with something. So what I've been quite aware of is like, actually, like, this might just be it. But something we are always open to as a household is that my husband is the main earner right now, but that could change, kind of thing. That's not something we have set in stone in our household, that he's the main earner. That is the case right now, if I'm being fully transparent. But my income, this isn't a side business, my income very much matters to our mortgage, to our bills, to our child things. But so that is actually something more I've thought of. So then potentially maybe it would change, because he's got to be the more flexible one if I became the earner, things like that. So that's something I'm probably more thought about, because then it just means there's still a parent that's flexible. I think that probably is important. But my younger will start school in a couple of years, and I think next year he might start the preschool, so that might mean I'll work 5 days a week, but maybe shorter hours. So that will probably change the mummy day. Maybe I'll keep it as a self-care day.
That's my plan.
I said yesterday, I'd written something down wrong about working 1 day a week, and I said, I wish I could work 1 day a week, and I was like, no, I'd prefer still find a way to fill the other 4 days. So it just sometimes, I think if you enjoy your work and found your passion and are purpose driven, it's I think, and that's what I find a lot with the podcast with mums who are founders. They're all purpose driven. None of them are just doing this just for the bottom line, or just to make money and just to be rich. They have a purpose behind their product, their service, their themselves. It's all very purpose driven. And I mean, that's it. Like with my VA business, it's not just about, I'm purpose driven in the VA world, and what things that could be improved in the VA industry, and I want to be a part of that, and things we could do better as a community and be involved in that, and really also be an inspiration for what VAs could do if they wanted to grow into an agency model. If not all of them do, some do, and and also being purpose driven in the sense of like a VA job really does benefit, is really good for mums. If that's it's if you've been a PA in a bank, and like we know those sorts of places aren't flexible working and things, so therefore that's might be a great role for them to put it into. So I'm purpose driven on that side. So I don't really think about the day-to-day if that will change, because I think it's changed so much in the past 3 years that probably I can't even think about what my schedule will be like in 3 years time, kind of thing. So I want to grow. So I think that's my reality right now, is like, how far can I grow with that? There are limitations in place, and I don't want there to be. So like maybe would look like an employee or something like that, because I work as a team community of freelancers right now. Maybe that is the route, and which is not anything that's happening soon, but it is what would that look like for this to grow, and for me to still have an element of flexibility, kind of thing. But it's still my own business at the end of the day, so I guess it's just like, you can have your flexibility, you just something, if you need that flexibility and something drops business side, that's the other reality of it. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of round us up, because it's been fantastic, and I think for obviously the experience you've got, Caroline, one of the key things you were saying is obviously the piece about outsourcing, but have you got a productivity hack that you could share with the listeners?
Oh my goodness, I've got so many products. It's like the right one. I mean, I always say, if you're lucky to have a VA, things like screenshotting your WhatsApp school WhatsApp group with reminders and events and things, and getting them to put it in your calendar is game changing. And or just forwarding on. I sent it to my inbox that I wanted, just a letter with all the dates in, and literally my VA put Bethany to action before I even told her, because she just knew I did it for her, not for me. I know everyone's not in that lucky position, but I think a productivity hack is always, whoever's in your life, if you don't have a VA or teams at that stage, if you have a partner or a co-parent or grandparents that are down the road, get them involved in as much as possible. Do not have, or if you're like some people, that is their job in the house to do all that side of things, but I really recommend, don't make it your job to do all the things, and just share your calendar with your husband and work together on it. It's a process, or partner, whoever it is at home, or co-parent use. There's still so much of the load on us. And an example is, I don't think we have any examples of any of our male clients who are fathers asking us to do school admin, but we do with the female clients, and that's because it's fallen on them. So I think it's a bit of a nudge to the male clients, get their partners to send the admin to us. We'll support them.
No, and I think that's really resonated, because I think it's sometimes, like, some of us, and I am a control freak, so we just naturally do it because we want to assert that control. And that is the pressure pot, isn't it, sometimes? So I'm going to be picking that phone up to that mother-in-law this afternoon.
What can she do? Yeah.
She's 5 minutes down the road. She can take some of the pain for me. I think, when you said it, I just think, I am really guilty of that. I kind of swallow it all up, and then I moan about it. And I'm my own worst enemy. The husband will walk in the door and I'm like, do you even know what I've done today? Do you even know I've been from A to B on the school run, and I've done this and I've done that? And actually, he doesn't, because I've not shared it. So I think that's a really good point.
And it's sometimes hard to point, because you're like, school admin, and they're like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
you don't know what it means until you're involved. And you're like, I've forgotten all this stuff that's coming up.
100%. Yeah, I mean, obviously from a coaching perspective, like from a business perspective, we'll talk about the drama triangle and the persecutor and the victim. And I totally
brought up the drama triangle this week. I love you brought that up, because I mentioned it in a scenario this week, and I was like, you're not the victim in the drama triangle.
And I think it's not to, like, we've just said that. I'm constantly the victim when it comes to the childcare and the school things. So I definitely need to apply that to my personal life.
I think martyring can be a bit of a thing, and I think you can see why it happens, especially if you're breastfeeding and for a year and things. There's so much that just falls on you, and that bond and that things, and then it's like, I do think that having 2 children really helped. Weirdly, I think, because I was just not available for some of the stuff with our first child, and I think that helps us. Not for everyone, it's different, but it helps him understand what he needed for nursery each day.
100% makes them a little bit more independent themselves. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, Caroline. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We will obviously put your links to your business and your Instagram handles on our comments on our podcasts. And thank you once again. It's been fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We rely heavily on word of mouth, so if you found value in this episode, please hit subscribe and share it with family and friends. If you'd like to find out a bit more about us, you can find us on our Facebook group, Parentrepreneurs Club, or alternatively on Instagram, Parentrepreneurs_Club. We hope you have a great week, and we look forward to talking to you next time.